The demise of Hattons at the start of the year sent shockwaves through not just the model retail world, but also the manufacturing world. In their recent history, Hattons became quite the prolific manufacturer of their own commissioned models. Some, like my Hattons P-Class, were truly some of the best quality and value products to ever grace the hobby. A number of model runs were outstanding at the time of Hattons' closure, and have since found their way to market in various other capacities. Rails of Sheffield have fulfilled the delivery of the second batch of Genesis coaches, but not bought the tooling. Conversely, Accurascale have snapped up a number of production runs as well as the tooling, saving the likes of the P-Class and Andre Barclay reruns from cancellation. And finally, after a long, tumultuous process riddled with obstacles, a new Hattons/Accurascale Andre Barclay engine has arrived in my hands. As I already owned the P-Class, when Hattons announced their fateful news, I popped in an order for one of the Andre Barclays, as I felt it would be my last shot to get one of their other acclaimed steam engine models. At the time I ordered these, they were under review, but they eventually ended up with Accurascale at a revised price. Originally being sold on pre-order for £85, the price rose to £99.95. Still, this might be the last of a dying breed of model engine, but enough about that for now. Let's have a look at my first ever Accurascale purchase. A huge box stands between us and the model, and inside resides the engine in my livery of choice, lined light blue. It's nice to see acknowledgement of this being a Hattons legacy product on the box. A nice touching tribute. But once you open the box up, it reveals just how tiny this engine looks inside. It's like an ant that's made itself at home in Buckingham Palace. I get Accurascale are going for protection with their packaging, but they could have achieved the same result with a box a quarter of the size. Apparently, Accurascale use a standard size box for all products, irrespective of size. Whether this represents a production saving cost or a reduction in wasted materials isn't something they've divulged publicly. Some open cab examples have been damaged by the tight clamshell packaging, which was inherited as part of the Hattons tooling arrangement and not redesigned by Accurascale. But my closed cab example looks alright from what we can see so far. Once out of the maze of packaging, the engine's crisp, even blue livery really pops against the white backdrop. Neat, straight white lining carves up and exemplifies each piece of the bodywork, from the cab sides to the saddle tanks to the sandboxes. Bright red lining on the footplate and solid red, stamped side rods draw the eye to the below regions, towards the chemically blackened wheels, pipework and brake rigging. Not to be overlooked is this printed yet legible builder's plate on the cab side. For the size of the lettering, these are great prints. And would you believe it? This also has cab detail. There's a modelled firebox inside and fully painted controls. There is no flickering firebox LED, something that other modern industrial contemporaries do feature nowadays. The cab, though detailed, isn't perfect. The glazing is chunkier than a railway sleeper and sticks out from the cab's flat rear wall in an obtrusive, frankly horrible manner. There are also these two ugly black clips holding the rear cab detail on that could have been better hidden with some design ingenuity. I think that flaw lies with Hattons more than it does with Accurascale. There are plenty of other nicely fitted separate details, such as the whistle, safety valve and water tank cap atop the boiler. Lamp irons and handrails cover the model on front, back and sides, and one being pushed slightly too far in was the only real quality issue I picked up on. Rivet detailing is included appropriately across the body's tooling, most notably across the cab roof, giving it an additional layer of texture. Dummy coupling hooks and brake pipes were not fitted at the factory, but are at least included in an accessory pack, with plenty of holes indicating where these should go. Underneath we can get another angle of the brake rigging, as well as see the driving axle has a moulded guard over the axle gear. Let's hope there's less issues running this than I had with my new Taliclin model. The mounted NEM couplers have some flex from side to side. On the scales, the Andre Barclay comes in at 124 grams, thanks to a die-cast chassis packed with weights, though at the expense of space for a speaker. It is, however, lighter than the new Dapol Hawthorne Leslie, which came in at 138 grams, so the Barclay is not the heaviest industrial 040 going. The back-to-back wheel gauging comes in at 14.7mm. which is slightly above the standard and geared more towards fine-scale track work. I'm not sure whether this was intentional, but it shouldn't dramatically impact the performance. Overall, we have a nicely dressed, well-built tank engine on our hands, one worthy of the Hattons name. If this performs as robustly as it appears built, I'll be a very happy customer. Let's get it down onto the track and find out. Straight out of the box, the Andre Barclay has a nice, controllable speed on the low end of the controller. It controls extremely well for the kinds of speeds needed for precise shunting duties. Let's try running it smoothly over some point work, to see how well that short wheelbase copes with the Insel Frog dead zones. Going forwards, it handled the points well. But in reverse, the smoothness gets a bit janky. Let's give it another go. It sputters a bit while going forwards now. Yet it's better in reverse. I suspect this may just need some running in to work out the kinks in the 5-pole motor and mechanism. Now I've run it in, and the engine has no issues with the baseboard joints by the station site. Let's see how it copes with the main loop, points, joins and all. Once again, it coped fine with that first set of points. The trickiest curved ball joint hasn't thrown it off either, as the engine continues round on its leisurely lap. Nice and smoothly, it goes over the next join. And across the next. Performing consistently now it's running. With the track tests complete, and the engine's performance improving, it's now time to see just how well geared the Andre Barclay is compared to other industrial shunters. For that, I need to hand it over to my train racing driver. Some say that he once drove an engine powered by horses on a treadmill, and that he used to work as a shunter's pole dancer, whatever that means. All we know is, he's called the Grunt. There he is, in the cab with some tangible controls to work with this week. I reckon he's happier, but his expressions are as easy to read as the Bible, translated into Latin and into Braille. Off the Andre Barclay goes at 50% speed. It's surprisingly brisk, I think too brisk to be going at a realistic scale speed at this point, but we'll work that out at the end. There's no issues on the points now though, and across the line they go. So, the Hattons / Accurascale Andre Barclay did the lap in 21.72 seconds, or 46.4 miles per hour at scale speed. That's almost railroad A3 speed. While not a pocket rocket, that's still on the fast side compared to the likes of the Dapol Hawthorne Leslie. This is a great, realistic runner at 40% or less on the controller. But if you turn it up any higher than that, it starts to go at speeds its real-life counterpart probably couldn't achieve. So, it's a little bit of a gearing mixed bag, but not to an immersion-ruining extent. Now the engine's running proper, it's time to test the couplings. Today's test train is a small consist of recent additions to my wagon collection. There's a Bachmann Cov hop I found at the Old Sager exhibition, and a mainline tanker I got from the National Festival of Railway Modelling held at the NEC last week. We can take this nice and slow. Everything's coupled up and set at the perfect height. With the train on its way, as happy as I am, I can't help but feel melancholic about this engine, as it feels like it represents the end of an era, not just for Hattons, but the industry as a whole. I really do think this and the new P-Class run represent the last time we're going to see a new locomotive release for less than £100. Other small engines in the market all cost more than these. The Dapol Hawthorne Leslie was £107 at retailers. Accurascale's Buckjumper is about £140. Rapido's Y7, £123. Nothing else on the horizon is coming in at under £100, unless you count Hornby's bona fide abuse of outdated toolings. It's a shame, as new tank engine models used to cost consistently under the £100 mark, yet they all sit above that now. The age of the sub 100 new release engine has been put to bed, but I'm glad I got one more to enjoy. On to my final verdict. Decoration. Everything here is done to a high standard. The blue, white and red are rich and vibrant, but the finish is matte enough not to make them look overbearing in saturation and gloss. The painted details are expertly picked out. It's a great looking model from all angles. I'm giving it the happiness mark. Details and features. This tooling was conceived back in 2018, and times have moved on. There's no firebox LED, but considering the price, I'm happy to go without. Once you have a crew in the small cab, you won't be able to see much of one anyway. There's a lot of other separately fitted details, including brake rigging, safety valves, drain cocks, oil lubricators, etc., plus pipes and coupling hooks in the accessory bag. One thing I would have liked is etched builder's plates, but if Hattons never did any in the original run of the tooling, it's unlikely Accurascale had much room, time or resources to provide them. On the whole, I'm happy with the details and features I did get with this for the price. Quality. This was absolutely spot on. I must acknowledge there have been quality issues with these experienced by others, chiefly unseated motors and damaged open cab examples. Accurascale have been supportive and forthcoming with these issues, providing detailed guidance on how to dismantle the engine to reseat the 5-pole motor, as well as replacing damaged examples under their lifetime warranty. The particular model I got didn't suffer in any of these departments, and all I could fault was one roughly fitted handrail that was easy enough to rectify. The die-cast running plate, chemically blackened wheels, and excellent, robust build quality are all exemplary on this one. I had a happy experience in this department, so I'll give it the mark. Performance. Once I had run this in, it was absolutely spotless. The running was fine and realistic at low speeds, but let loose a fair bit above 50%. Points and bore joins pose no real threat to the short wheelbase. It was a star performer. And finally, onto price. I've covered this somewhat already as the potential last time we're going to see a new release locomotive for under £100. At £99.95, I got a well decorated, decently detailed, quality engine that performs well and reliably. There's not too much more you could ask for that wouldn't push the price up, and it's unlikely we'll ever see these as cheap as this again. I can't fault the price. It's fair and reflective of the model you get. The value and quality of the first run of Andre Barclays made them highly sought after, and scalped to an extent, with eBay listings topping the £150 mark. Overall, that's a solid 5 out of 5, making this an essential engine I can recommend for almost any modeler. It can be at home on a shunting puzzle, an industrial setting, a branch line, or at a locomotive depot or large station. This is a ubiquitous, reliable engine that almost anyone can find a home for, and it truly is a shining example of everything great about model railway engines. Grab one of these while you can, and if you can. I doubt we'll ever see them as cheap as this off the shelf ever again. So, what do you think of the Andre Barclay Industrial Tank Engine? Accurascale are going to do further runs down the line, so what liveries and variations do you hope they introduce into Hattons' solid tooling foundations? Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all in another video very soon. Take care.